Next.
Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Bruno,
Hi, I'm Hollis Silverman.
and today we're going to talk about battered women's syndrome.
1 in 4 women will experience a domestic violent relationship in their lifetime. Dr. Bruno, I actually have a client right now who is a male that I think is going through battered woman syndrome.
Well, the syndrome is not just specific to women, although more women than men experience it because more women feel less empowered when they're in a relationship, because a lot of it is based on physicality and isolation. So, and just by the sheer nature of a man, they are more difficult to isolate and beat.
No, of course. Right now we're working on, building a safety plan together. We also are working on him staying really busy and active with his family and with his friends so that he can prevent himself from isolation.
So he's still allowed to go around his family?
He is for now, but she keeps a very close watch on him.
Okay.
So we have everything pretty much detailed and marked down so that he knows what to do if anything were to erupt, a fight were to erupt.
Okay. Well, that's exactly how you would handle that situation, along with counseling that's sort of commensurate with post-traumatic stress, like trauma-related counseling.
Yes, and that's where he meets kind of the criteria, because I think that's where it's leading to is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Falls along with that.
Some of the stages of not some of them, there's 3 stages to the battered women's syndrome, which was developed by Dr. Lenore Walker, who is, I believe, an active faculty member at Nova Southeastern University. And the stages consist of tension building, active battery, and then reconciliation. So the time between each stage gets less and less as the relationship ages. So at the beginning, and also the intensity. At the beginning, your spouse, will say, for lack of a better word, so getting away from the genders, might push you. And then it might be a year or it might be 6 months before something else happens. They push you, they are sorry, then there's like a honeymoon stage where they might bring you presents, or you go on a vacation, and then all of a sudden you start seeing their mood change, the tension is building up, and before something else can come out. And this time, since you took the push, the next time it might be the spouse pushes you and then kicks you. So really, this is grooming. They're grooming you to see how much you're going to take. Simultaneously, just like what Hollis said, is that they're grooming you and they're isolating you. And you might not even realize it. They might say, you know what, I really don't like that friend. She hasn't said this, or she's done that, or he's done this or done that. And you might stop talking to that friend, or they might say, you know what, you don't really need to work. I make enough money. So they're systematically isolating you. So you have less and less contact outside of the home. With that less and less contact, you'll take more and more because you'll feel alone and isolated, which will then bring on symptoms like what?
Symptoms like isolation, as Dr. Bruno said, feelings of sadness and depression, hopelessness, helplessness, crying spells, feelings of low self-worth, no identity. Even I would say issues with just, being able to function in daily life, going to work, socializing, all these things get affected.
Absolutely. So then what happens is eventually something erupts, whether it's divorce, if the spouse can get up the courage to do that, because most of the time it takes years to, it takes up to 5 years for an average couple to go through, to decide to do divorce, let alone someone who's being battered. Because there's always that fear of retribution.
Yeah.
So and I don't want to say a lot of times, but there are those instances where homicide is involved. So the spouse is being abused. During the non-active phase, they kill their spouse, the abuser. And then this battered women syndrome, this concept, is brought into court as a method of defense, of showing that the constant re-traumatization made the spouse feel like there was no other way out. It was them, it was her or him or him or her, and that was it. And it's been used with some success, and it's been used with some detriment. The reason why it hasn't had some success, or all this success that it should, is because it wasn't quantitatively validated, which means that there's no statistical number. Dr. Walker based all of her findings on hundreds of interviews that she did with battered women, and built this these 3 phases of her battered women syndrome based on those interviews. And hence it's qualitative, and in the courts, qualitative research and qualitative data is not seen as the litmus, doesn't hold the bar as a research or validated theory. However, it has gone to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has held it up. Most states have adopted it as a expert testimony, or a good what's it called? Oh my God, as a good defense. Yeah. Thank you. So, but if you are being battered, you're not alone.
Yes.
All it takes is a phone call. Don't tell anybody that you're planning to get out, except for that person that has your stuff that you've developed with your safety plan.
Yes.
And just find your local shelter. Like, what do they have here, Hollis?
We have Women in Distress in Fort Lauderdale. That's our local chapter. But there are women's shelters everywhere, and I would definitely, make a note, do a search on where your local women's shelter would be, that you can get help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I would also recommend making a detailed safety plan, making sure that you have money, making sure you have all your documentation, copies of your birth certificate, and if you have children, their birth certificates,
Clothes,
your passport, IDs. Maybe some women actually that I've worked with in the past will keep a suitcase in the back, in the trunk of their car. And sometimes that's really hard to get away with, but you could also keep it at work. And some women obviously they're very skeptical to do that as well, because they don't want anybody to find out about their whereabouts, and that could look suspicious. Exactly. So any place that you could think of maybe to kind of hide some of this stuff could be really helpful to you.
Absolutely. So you're not alone. That's all we want you to know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm Dr. Julie Bruno.
I'm Hollis Silverman.
Goodbye.
Bye.